All right, let's go ahead and don't waste any time. Let's get started. All right, like I said, my name is Jared Kingston. I work for Apereo as a consultant and just kind of head up the organization of MVP Office Hours. So thanks for everyone who's joining us today. If you are new to MVP Office Hours, just a quick ground rules. This is just an open forum, so you can raise your hand in the web meeting, you can post in chat, you can speak up when there's some dead space. Any way you like it, you can ask a question. So because it's an open forum, we just ask you mute your line so that we don't get any dogs barking or ruffling of papers or crazy typing. So, and then if we have some dead space, we'll just, and nobody's asking, we'll pick on some people, or we'll just give time back in the day. So that's me. We have a handful of awesome MVPs on the phone with us today. So I'm going to try to have them introduce themselves. So I'm just going to start at the top of the hand-raised list here, and then I'll work my way down. So Brendan, you are the first to go.
Hey guys, this is Brendan Conroy. I'm Manager of Sales Operations at Market Metrics, and let's have some fun.
All right. Mr. Downey?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Brent Downey. I'm the Salesforce Administrator for ReadyTalk.
And you're on a ReadyTalk conference. It's perfect. The Wizard, Brian Kwong.
Hi, this is Brian Kwong, also known as the Salesforce Wizard, and HealthGrade Salesforce Specialist at HealthGrade.
And before I go on, somebody has like speaker on or something. If you could mute that. It's coming through your microphone.
I thought we were going to do the meeting in auto-tune.
Yeah, this is, yeah, wow, that's really bad. Where's that coming from? All right, maybe that's, no, it's not going, dang it. All right. Jeez, yes. All right, maybe that'll be better. Okay, that's better. Sorry. All right, Marty.
Hey everyone, this is Marty, consultant at Slalom Consulting. Glad to be on the call.
Philip Southern's on the call. Philip, you want to introduce yourself real quick? Philip, you out there?
Hey, this is Philip.
All right, thanks for joining. Mr. Molis.
Hi, I'm Steve Molis or Steve Mo.
All right, and then we have Brandy. You're on.
Hi, it's Brandy Colmer, Force.mom, and I used to be a Salesforce administrator, and then I was a consultant, and now I work at an ISV, and I do a lot of different things. So, there we go.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we actually have a question right off the bat, which would be a great question for Brandy. Let's see, this is Kristen, and I don't want to try your last name, Kristen, because I'll probably butcher it. So, but what is the best way to incorporate maps? And Brandy works at a company that does just that. So, Brandy, take it away.
Yes. So I work at a company called AeroPoint, and we have an application on the App Exchange called GeoPoint. And AeroPoint's been doing mapping on the Force.com platform since, gosh, I think 2007. So, you know, I've been with the company since last year, but I've been aware of it as a great App Exchange tool since much earlier. And, so just all that's to say that our founder, Scott Hemmeter, who's also an MVP, just has a very deep knowledge of mapping and the Force.com platform. So you can't go wrong with our tool. There are other ones out there. I get fired if I told you their names, so I'm not going to. No, I'm just kidding. But you can obviously find them out there. The way that our tool works is we geocode your data, your address data on either standard or custom object, and then we allow that. We allow you to visualize that on a Google Maps UI, and then we also have some geo-analytics where you can do kind of, so the first one I was talking about, you can do routing and trip planning, and you can we even just released a great new tool to be able to do kind of territory management light. It's basically just, you can throw all of your records on a map and then draw shapes around them to represent your territories, and then search within that shape and say, okay, all of these need to get reassigned to Joe. So you can mass change the owner on those records based on finding them on a map. So it's pretty cool. You can get a free trial of the AppExchange, and I'll stop talking now so we can talk about other things. Sorry, I can go on forever about that, so I'll just...
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Brandy. And I will second that, just from the fact that as an admin at my past 2 companies, I've used the product, and it's been amazing. So plus 1 billion quadrillion for GeoPoint. So all right. So Kevin, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a question I think I had posted in the Success community, but haven't gotten any response, so I'm hoping that the MVPs might be able to ride to the rescue. The private app exchange is, a fairly new offering, and I had 2 quick questions. One, can you have more than one app exchange, quote-unquote, private app exchange store per organization? And or, if you can we go ahead and repurpose it for something else? And I can go into detail what I'm thinking about, but just initially, if we can't, then I don't even need to go down that path.
Somebody want to take that question?
This is Marty. I think, Kevin, regarding whether or not your company can have more than one private store, my guess is yes. And the reason I say that is because if Salesforce for some reason told you that no, one company could only have one, obviously you can spin up a separate Salesforce org and essentially set up a different account with Salesforce. So I'm sure there's more than one way that you could get more than one private store on the AppExchange. But I think it's more curious what your drivers are for wanting to do that.
Well, as I work for a nonprofit, and so one of our, when we're hired, one of our qualifications are, how can you multi-purpose anything you have, because we have to save money? I'm sure everybody's heard that one before. One of the things that we have is that we were looking for an app, and this is another granted question. We have remote offices, 18 of them, let's say, through the United States. And one of the things that our admins have to do is when people go to visit these sites, they want to know what hotels, what restaurants, what rental companies, what taxis, so that they can go ahead and point people to say, here, this is where you go to make your reservations. Well, the store concept is perfect. In other words, people can comment and say, yeah, we stayed at the Roach Motel and, we really thought it was terrible, or this was a great price, or... So it's kind of the functionality of the AppExchange store paradigm that I was really kind of looking at that I didn't find anywhere else in the AppExchange. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, basically what it sounds like is you want your own, you basically want an internal version of Yelp or TripAdvisor.
Yes, it just was that the simplicity of the App Exchange, since I've used that, so much, and, having it in-house to have your own private one, yes, for applications, but it could, that same paradigm, that store, I guess. And I still, are there other products in the App Exchange that have like a storefront? That's
But
cheap?
I think Kevin, the one of the thoughts here is the App Exchange is designed like the features that you described don't touch on. I think the big reason why you have an App Exchange, which is to facilitate transactions. So like if your internal people are using the store to go to an office, right? Like let's say you go to San Francisco and you stay at the Marriott, and you say the Marriott is terrible, or you say the Marriott is great. Let's say you say the Marriott is great and your colleague goes to San Francisco. They would be able to find your review of the Marriott. And is your thinking that they would be able to book? Like how does that facilitate a transaction? Because I think that really drives whether or not you need something like the App Exchange, or you just need a social tool that will help you vote things up or down.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is I wasn't even going to the extent of complicating it, like booking it or whatever. It's right now they're just keeping everything in a spreadsheet, and they just send that spreadsheet to a person, and that's it, which is, again, the silo that doesn't get updated and people don't know. And again, just repurposing. I'm so used to using the Salesforce Labs applications where you can go in and tinker and customize, and I was just, same type of thing. So it's not a biggie. I just was really impressed with the private App Exchange, and, could you repurpose it? So, like I said, it wasn't a complicated thing. It was supposed to be just very, very simple, something that I don't have to go ahead and make a custom application, which I'll end up doing probably. So just to save me some time.
I mean, Kevin, my last thought is maybe you could use knowledge articles instead, and you could create an article type called review. Because I think knowledge has some of those rating features that would be that sounds like it would help be part of what you want. Right.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Marty. I'd second that as well. All right. Thanks, Marty. All right, so we had another question here from Chad. He wants to set a finished location for a flow to be the record that was just created. Have an example of how to do it, but need help interpreting the details. Our flow people on the line have any input there? I know one flow man in general, Mark Ross, was on the line. If he has anything to add.
Sure, I can help out. Are you wanting to know, well, no, sorry. To start out, are you on a Visualforce page or not? That's the first question. Okay, if you're on a Visualforce page, and I believe you have to do it through the Visualforce tags themselves. It's not something you change in the flow per se. It has to be defined in the Visualforce page. Brian, I think I saw you helping somebody out with that on Twitter like a couple weeks ago. Am I remembering incorrectly?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the answer was.
I'm not a Visualforce guy.
I've found a couple of examples where folks explain how to do it. One was, on the Salesforce. Let me see if I got the right. It's developers discussion forum. And they give the code for the Visualforce page, and then they talk about the class as well. And it kind of makes sense to me, but I'm brand new to this, and I just don't know exactly what a few of the things are in the code that they've provided as an example. So I was just kind of needing some guidance and help in kind of looking at that and trying to learn what those elements are that I don't understand.
It looks like it's the finished location after. No, I'm sorry, that's in the flow.
Well,
no, I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
It's in the flow::interview tag. and you insert a finished location argument into that tag.
So in the example,
the link, if that's helpful.
In the example that I'm looking at right now, you know, you interview the name of your flow, and then there's another interview statement, and it looks like it's one of the variables that's in the flow.
What does the variable look like?
Well, the example that is being provided was for an opportunity. So they have a create opportunity flow with an interview with the variable name myFlow. And I don't know, you know, as I'm looking at that, it just, you know, it's not registering in myFlow what variable I might refer to.
Hey guys, this is Philip. So think of flows inside of Visualforce as kind of like, you can break it down into a lot of different components. The Visualforce page itself, you know, you can bind that to a standard controller, so you know, like opportunity or case. You can bind that to a custom controller as well, or an extension. So you know, really the page itself kind of operates with classes and the same means. Within that page, you will put that flow interview component. So it kind of, that flow process and that flow component kind of sits in the Visualforce page. And within that flow interview component, you've got a lot of different things you can send to it. And one is, the previous person speaking this was absolutely right. You can tell it the finished location. So when the page gets called and then that flow component comes up, you're telling flow, okay, after you're done, here is the finished location. Now, finished location, the reference I'm looking at for the Salesforce documentation just sends you to a URL back to the home. Sometimes you can actually go to the record created. I know I've done examples, or I've done implementations where we had the finished location go to another Visualforce page to do a follow-up action, and then based on a response on that, we send it to the final destination of the record created. But to your question of variables, so within the flow interview component, you will see an Apex param, P-A-R-A-M tag, which is sending variables to the flow. Now, what variables you're sending, that's really up to you. You can send a variable from the record itself, from your cut, you know, really wherever you can pull data in from the Visualforce page, you can set that as a parameter and send that into the flow. The flow can then receive that, go through its process, and use it as needed. Does that help?
I may be too green to be able to understand that.
And this may be a good example of one that maybe we need to take offline, and maybe you can post within the if you want to post it on the answers community, and you can post a link to that post within. There's actually a visual workflow group out in the community, and you could post it out there and see what everyone can tell you there, and that way you can provide some more, you know, concepts to it. So
okay,
and maybe, yeah, and maybe Mark and Philip and Brian, the other guys, can take a look at it there. So give some more visual context.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
No problem.
All right, looks like Chris Bradley, you're up next with your question. What is the best way to have opportunity product start and end dates to fill in automatically during entry? Workflow won't work in default value by formula would be perfect, but it won't work on standard fields. This causes a lot of useless data entry by reps. This has been annoying by reps for years, so I'd love to find the answer. Anybody have any thoughts around that?
So Jared, what they're trying to do is just pre-fill a field.
Yeah, pre-fill the product start and end dates. And Chris, you can add some more if you want.
Yeah. What we have on our opportunities, we have a lot of contract start and end dates. We had to add a lot of fields because we had to match up with what our accounting system looks like because we're integrating with it. On the product dates, I'd love to be able to put, since there's a contract start and end date and a bill start and end date above on the opportunity record itself, I would love to be able to put a default value by formula on each one of the opportunity products. Now, I can do that with the two custom fields that are on the product lines, but not for the standard fields.
Right. Okay, so there's two options. I'm going to tell you what the difficult one is first that I suggest you don't do.
Okay.
And then just so you know it's an option, and I'll tell you the way that I think might work best. So the first one is because of the way opportunity line items work, you have to pick the product and everything like that. It's really tough to try to override the button. So you would have to rebuild that whole functionality using Visualforce, and that would be a pain. But that would give you all the functionality that you would want. But who wants to do that? The better option is actually go your route of using custom fields to do your pre-fill in. And that's what shows up to the user when they're creating the record. And then when they're saving it, have a workflow that will go ahead and take that data and put it where you want it on the standard fields. So it looks like to the user they're doing it normally, but all you're really doing is doing a little tiny shortcut and having the workflow field updates to go, okay, now I need to take the value from my custom field and put it into my standard field.
Okay. What do you do when I can't get on the product entry layout, the layout for the product? I cannot get the standard fields out of that. So when you're putting in your dates,
are they marked as required?
Yes, and I've marked them as not required, and it's still required.
Which fields? Because I've essentially overridden everything in my opportunity line item except for product name.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the answers community for, like I said, looking for answers for 2 or 3 years, and besides Apex, I really can't find an option.
This is Steve. What field are you trying to remove from the line item layout?
It's a contract start date and end date. It's a standard field on the layout.
Okay. Well, those aren't standard field names. Are those standard fields that have been renamed?
Honestly, I don't know. I didn't set up my order.
The opportunity product object. And those aren't. We're talking about the opportunity product object, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those aren't standard field names. And the other thing is that I'm looking at the mandatory fields. Like if you're looking at the page layout, where we would make a field like either required upon create, or optional, or remove a field entirely from the page layout. The only standard field on there is the product date, and it's just one date. There's not an end date, and I have the option of making it both optional and removing it from the page layout. If you're in the page layout editor, it's so old I hate to call it the new one, but the what you see, what you got page layout editor. If a field is what we call mandatory, like a core, for lack of a better word, a core Salesforce field, like you can't have an account without an account name. Those are indicated with a blue dot next to the field label in the page layout editor. There's an old famous old Salesforce saying, if it's blue, you're screwed because you can't remove that field from the page layout. date doesn't have a blue dot. I just, in my devlog, removed the standard opportunity product date field and I made it optional, and then I just removed it and dragged it right off the page.
Okay. What I'm looking at on my opportunity product layout is, it's not the contract start and end date, it's bill start and end date. It does have a blue dot on it, on those two.
And this is the opportunity product layout.
Do you have schedules turned on?
Do I have what?
Schedules?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Huh.
Yeah, that would be the only thing I could think of, because that's not necessarily out of the box.
Well, is it opportunity product or opportunity product line item? Opportunity line item.
Opportunity product detail.
Opportunity product detail. And it's. I don't want to call you out. I mean, could you do a screen share? Because the close date on the opportunity, now that is, blue and screwed. You are not going to be able to create an opportunity and have an optional close date.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on the product, and close date is mandatory. Opportunity product date totally optional.
How about what if we had him do this, Steve? What if Chris, if you want to take a screenshot of that potentially, and you could post it out to the MVP Office Hours group on the community.
Oh. Okay.
Would that work?
Yeah.
And then we could take a look at it there and see what that is. Because I'm not sure what that would be.
Hey guys, this is Philip. If you're looking at the page layout and you have a blue dot, even if it's a custom field, that means it's required at the field level, not at the page layout level.
There you go. That could be it.
So go back to your. I mean, it sounds like it's a custom field. So go back to the custom field itself and uncheck. I think it's always require value when inputted.
Okay.
Definitely doesn't sound like a standard field.
Yeah, check that out, and if that doesn't solve it, post out on the MVP Office Hours. We'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, will do. Thanks.
Yeah, all right, thanks. The next person we have in line here is Andrea Rosselli, I think that's how you say that. So her question is, what are we seeing in terms of products being mobilized for Salesforce One? Can't use Salesforce One until products are available. So I just want to ensure you're actually talking about like products and price books.
No, just
within
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just products not being available. We're not necessarily using products and opportunities, but we use the standard products object that we do a lot of field reference for. And so just didn't know if anyone else, I threw something out there in terms of the success community and got a few folks supporting it, but it's just a major part of our business that we're actually more of a B2B company, and our ingredient is in products. So we really need that when we're out there, and I didn't know if anybody had created a workaround or saw anything coming, because it's a big killer at Salesforce One for us right now. Not having it.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't run into that. Anybody else run into that?
Or have updates?
Yeah, or have any insight?
I know for some people that I've seen out on the boards, it is about having products so then they can, use opportunity products because they want to attach those to their opportunities, which also makes using Salesforce One not available. So.
Andrea, it sounds like you're dealing with, you said ingredients, right?
Well, we make an ingredient, but it goes into a finished good, and the finished good is the product that we need to reference because we sell to different manufacturers.
Okay. I mean, I think the only thing I can think of right now is like historically how some people have gotten around different limitations similar to the one you described is to create a shadow object.
Okay.
Because
then it would be considered custom, and I'd be able to have it on Salesforce One.
Exactly. But it would require you to set up some code to make sure that all that integration works.
Okay. Yeah, that is an option. I don't know. I don't know that this is the only standard object that's not available. I think there are a few other ones, and we heard they were coming. We just didn't have anything definitive. So thanks for taking my question today.
Yeah, I would say it's most likely on the roadmap at some point. I mean, obviously, safe harbor, right, Steve? But, I mean, because I know there's like limitations around opportunity products where you can only view them, you can't really add them, at least out of the box. So, yeah, my guess is that, they'll probably have it on the roadmap at some point.
Well, if you guys can go out and vote for it, I'd appreciate that too.
Oh, we'll share the link on
post it on the
NVDO.
We definitely will.
And I would really hesitate before you go create a custom object just to get around Salesforce One, just because the platform is really
evolving.
New. It's only been out since November. And especially if you're talking about opportunity products, there's so many things that ties into. It's probably more of a headache than it's worth.
Yeah, I appreciate that
Well,
as well.
I wonder too if you could potentially, because Visualforce pages can be added in as tabs, right? So
yeah, you might be able to create your own little app.
Yeah, your own little Visualforce page that allows you to pull back products, the standard product table, but it's a tab. It's a tab that's mobilized that you could look at. So that's something to look into as well.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it looks like Cody is next in line here. Can you just provide all right, so Cody's question is, can you just provide a very high-level overview of the difference between Apex classes, triggers, and controllers? He has a strong functional and config background, but never pulled back the development curtain at this point. So all those developer guys gals want to take a swing at that?
I think this is Marty. I think we could talk about that pretty quickly. A trigger is, Cody, do you know are you familiar with databases?
Yeah, definitely.
So, like a trigger is just like, do you know how triggers work in databases?
Well, I guess it depends on the context of the database, but I mean, it's basically just an action based off some type of defined criteria or logic, right?
A trigger basically, anytime you do a create, edit, or delete, I think the easiest way to think about it, a trigger automatically happens when you do a create, edit, or delete on any record, or on the record that you're, on the object that you're customizing. So it's an automated, it's basically more powerful, it's a more powerful version of workflow. And an a controller is an Apex class. So Apex classes are, how do you describe this? An Apex class is like you're taking some piece of your business. I guess one way to think about it is like you're delegating to an automated assistant. So like this is an object-oriented programming principle. The easiest way you can try to conceptualize is basically a class is your buddy, and you create the class to do something specific that you tell it to so that you can give it the same instruction over and over again.
So it just essentially provides some standardization where it could be used, in multiple arenas if needed.
Sure, yeah, definitely. But it's, it's not, I think classes, so just remember like a controller is a class. A controller is just used specifically in the realm of Visualforce and custom UI development, but I think if you haven't programmed before, I would recommend doing something like Code Academy to learn object-oriented programming first.
Okay. And again, it's not really that I'm going to be handling the development, it's just more of my needs at this point is just kind of understanding what our developers' needs are, just because from their standpoint, a lot of Salesforce terminology and structure is new to them as well. So just being able to kind of speak their language and get on the same page so they can better understand the functional requirements.
I would say like your developers should know what a class is. If they don't know what a class is, I think there are bigger problems. That's not to be facetious or anything, but that's a very honest reflection of object-oriented programming.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Marty. All right. Next question here is Jamie Buck. I'd love to know what tools or processes you can recommend to get salespeople to log their calls in Salesforce. Good question. Any MVPs want to take that one? Brendan, you have your hand raised. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brendan.
I think, this is Brandy speaking, I think if it's, one way is to measure that. It's a little controversial whether you measure and report on calls and tasks. I mean, it can feel a little draconian from a management perspective for salespeople, but depending on the backstory and the company strategy and why it's important, that's one way. One quick and easy way is to start reporting on that and surfacing people who aren't.
And this is Brendan. Something that I do with my reps, we track demos and sent proposals, and I have a specific report that I schedule that goes out to finance, it goes out to our executive vice president, and it's brought up in weekly meetings about their overall activities. And I do similar things with things like opportunities as well. But that's how I've been able to encourage salespeople to really put in their tasks, because during these meetings it's brought up, hey, you only did 2 demos this month, what's up?
Okay, yeah, this is Jamie. We, have struggled with this in the past, and I think there will be more focus on it. But I was also wondering if there are, because we're probably going to roll out pieces of this to other departments, and I was wondering if there was a tool where it just, like, say you made a call and it says, do you want to record that, as having happened, or something along those lines, so that it makes it a little easier for them when they're doing that, because that's like the one thing that they can't really do inside Salesforce, right off the bat.
So they don't have a log a call button?
They do, but it's like,
I don't mean
I
that
guess
to be
it requires
facetious
them
or
to
anything.
go
I'm just
in
trying
and
to
find the
figure out.
person. Yeah.
I think what you're asking for is if you're asking if they, like, after the actual call is made, if they're provided with an option to log that data to Salesforce.
I mean, that would be the ideal scenario, but even if, I think the new Salesforce One app allows you to at least make calls from it, so I'm guessing it records that in the record as well. So that kind of thought is kind of cool, that it's kind of part of their workflow, it's inserting itself in their workflow, or reminding them afterwards, like, hey, you didn't do this.
Are they sitting at their desk, or are they making these calls like out in the field?
I would say it
Or is it
definitely
both?
depends. But it probably, I think it depends on the salesperson, like how they prefer to do it all at once in the morning or to do it during the day when they're out.
Sure.
One thing you can take a look at is if they're going to be sitting at their desk is a CTI phone integration, because Salesforce does support soft phones, assuming you have a phone system that will do the CTI call into Salesforce. And then there's additional development you can do on top of that, so when a phone call goes through, you can actually have it open a task with some of the information filled in. Regarding the Salesforce One, I think my understanding is you're going to be able to place calls coming out there, but I don't think it's going to automatically log any of the activity.
Okay.
I'm just testing that on Salesforce One right now, actually, and no, it didn't prompt me. I think there was an older version of Salesforce Mobile that did that. Sounds like another one for ideas.
Yeah.
One thing, just just to throw out there, and I don't know if it would necessarily work for your situation, but there's an app called Action Plans. That's a Force.com Labs app, and it basically allows you to create predefined sets of tasks that need to get done. So if you, say to go from qualified to committed on your opportunity, right? You've got to complete these 5 tasks. And one of them is give a demo, and one of them is send a contract or blah, 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 right? You can pre-make those tasks, and then it automatically creates the tasks against that opportunity assigned to the owner or assigned to the person who clicks the button and says create the tasks. So the tasks are already there. It's just a matter of them coming in and, closing the task and saying, yes, I did it. Here's my notes, that kind of thing. So, that saves them a little bit of time of actually having to click log a call, do it. And again, I don't know if that would necessarily work for your company and your process, but it might be a tool to look for where, just like we were talking at the beginning, the reporting piece is kind of the stick of, hey, you got to do this or you're going to get in trouble. And then this would be maybe a little bit more of a carrot where you could say, hey, we're doing this much of it for you, or the CTI option that was discussed too. We're doing this much of it for you, and we just need you to follow up. So you kind of have that combination of a carrot and a stick, if that makes sense. Carrot.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Right.
I think in some circumstances that could work, even just regardless of the call, but just setting up some standard tasks I think would be helpful. So I'll definitely look at that.
That's a good app, and I've actually extended it in the past where we actually used the closing of the tasks to actually update the opportunity stage. It took a little bit of customization and developer work, but it worked out pretty well to drive salespeople to do their activities to move their opportunity along rather than just getting to come in and say, you know what, I think this one's in commit. There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Let's see. All right, Scott, you had a question on, is there a quicker, easier way to input emails from Outlook into Salesforce? Do you have anything else you want to add to that? Any MVPs have any thoughts on that or experience? Scott's point here is that the newer Outlook integration says it took away the easy use for the sales reps. So my first question on that is, are you using the sidebar as a part of that?
Sorry about that. I was on mute. That was one of my questions. I just, if I'm sending an email from Outlook, is there an easy way to actually integrate that into Salesforce automatically without copying and pasting?
Have you seen the plugin for Salesforce for Outlook?
I tried to integrate it. It's not integrating for some reason. So, is there a particular place that I can go to find that? Because whatever I did, I downloaded it, I integrated it, no tabs or anything like that came up or anything like that. So,
what version of Outlook are you using?
Let's see. 2010.
2010. Okay, should work.
Would that tab automatically? Should it automatically be appearing, or is there anything else that I have to do?
Underscore on the word should. Yes. I've had some really weird issues with a handful of people here at the office running Salesforce for Outlook. One of the things that you can do is if the plugin is running and you've never got the little prompt to say, hey, log in, it may be something as simple as the fact that you're not actually logged in through the plugin. So if you have the plugin installed and you go to the bottom right-hand corner of your desktop where your icons and your clock are, you'll see this little white arrow. If you click on that, you should see a circle with an S in it. And that circle is either going to be gray or it's going to be red. Okay.
What's the overall difference there? So red not working,
red means you're logged in. Gray means you're not logged in. If it's red and you still don't see things showing up, then there's something weird going on in Outlook, and chances are Outlook was trying to be helpful and disabled it on your behalf.
Okay.
At which point you could actually go to the, if you go click on the Files tab, there is and then go to Options. There's a section in that menu called Add-ins.
Okay.
And then there'll be a Go button near the bottom of that menu. And that's going to take you to what's called COM Add-ins. And it's going to give you a list of all the little plugins that your version of Outlook has. And in there you should see two items. One that says Salesforce for Outlook Add to Salesforce Toolbar, and one that says Salesforce for Outlook Side Panel. And both should be checked.
Okay, great. Then I will work on that. So I don't want to take up everybody else's time. So
if you have questions, post them in the community. And if you have to, go and uninstall the plugin completely and download a fresh install.
Reinstall. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Your help is much appreciated.
You're welcome, Brendan. One other thing to add, I would also suggest looking at your Outlook configuration, make sure that it's active, make sure that the right numbers are associated to it as well.
Okay. I will work on it. Thank you guys very much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right. Let's see, looking for additional questions here. Who else has questions? We have about 11 minutes left.
This is Jamie. I was just playing with the Salesforce One app, and it is actually pretty cool for logging calls. I just called myself, and it opens up a call log window like right then, which is cool. So then they, hopefully will fill it out.
Awesome. Yeah. Good. Thanks for bringing that up. Rick, you have your hand raised. You have a question?
Yes, I do. Salesforce One iPad users, there's a app on the Apple App Exchange or Apple Store that's called Dragon for Salesforce.com. Now, I can't seem to get it to work. I don't know if it works with the latest version of Salesforce. Anybody have any experience with the Dragon version for Salesforce.com?
I think I played with it one time, and it's the whole premise of Dragon. They're very early player in the voice-to-text space, and I don't know, voice-to-text is still very problematic in my opinion, as we've probably all experienced if you're an iPhone user and you try to get Siri to send a text to somebody for you. You've always got some kind of challenge with it. But yeah, so like I said, very limited experience. I just kind of played with it, and it was kind of a voice-to-text, and just didn't really seem to me like a really compelling. Gosh, I would use this every day. Wow.
Right. Again, I'm trying to determine if some of my mobile users would find value and it'd be a time saver or a productivity improvement tool. There is another Dragon app. I don't know what it's called, Dragon Note or something that it seems to work pretty well, but I just can't even get this thing to respond to my voice. So I know my iPad's working correctly. I don't know if it's just an old app that has gone stale and is no longer supported by Dragon or Nuance, as they're now called.
Mark, you want to? Sounds like you have some experience with Dragon. Mark Ross.
Yeah, we actually had our sales guys that were in the field using it, and they loved it. I think they were well aware that it was voice to text, and that doesn't always translate, but they really liked having that. And I have not heard anything about it going end of life or no longer working or anything like that from them, I can ask and find out. If you want to ping me, I'm just Mark Ross, the one that comes up with AutoTrader on the Success forums. I believe now they have enabled private messaging on the Success forums. I can ask my guys and find out if it's still working for them or not, and at least get that back to you.
That would be great, because I went all over Dragon's site, and there was nowhere that they even indicated that this app existed or were providing any kind of support for it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, not a problem.
Thanks,
yeah,
Mark.
Just ping
Appreciate
me and I'll
that.
go out. I'll send an email out to them today.
Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. All right, we got about 7 minutes left. Does anybody else have any questions? Looks like we have Chad. You have your hand raised. Do you have another question?
Yeah, I do. I'm looking for a strategy to, for example, I've got a date on a custom object, and every day I want to look at that date, and if that date meets a certain criteria, I'd like to send an email. So it's like, you know, the workflow functionality in Salesforce is awesome. It can do it, but in order for that workflow to get invoked, you have to edit the record. And I don't want to edit the record. I'm just kind of looking for a way to do that in a more automated kind of fashion. And I'm wondering if anyone has any thoughts or has developed any kind of strategy for pulling that off.
What would be the is this an actual date field on the record?
Yes.
And so, like, you have a record, you've got a date, and on that date you want an email to launch.
Correct.
You could create a time-dependent workflow that's triggered when that field is changed from blank to a date value. That could be your trigger right there. So a lot of people get confused they trip themselves up when they get into time-dependent workflows. They think that the time has to be a component of the workflow trigger. It doesn't. The workflow trigger can be something as simple as this record has been created, and then your action is scheduled to run on a date that is stored somewhere in that record. So if you've got a date field, that's your trigger, and the thing that initiates, starts that hourglass, flips over the hourglass and starts those sands falling through the hourglass until that email is going to be sent, is the record being created, or that field being changed from nothing to the day.
Okay, so I should kind of dive more into the time-dependent workflow and kind of try to bring myself up to speed on that.
So you said it's a date field on the record. Is the date an automatically populated date, like a system date, like created date, or is it a date field that the user would, at some point, input something like
the latter?
Okay, perfect. You're good to go. The date field being changed from blank to something other than blank is your trigger, and then the action is scheduled to run on that date. It could be that simple.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'll look more into it and see if that'll work for me. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. All right, we've got a couple more questions in here, and we'll try our best to get to them. Murali, you have your hand raised. What question do you have?
Yes. Hey, this is Murali Rajendran. I have a question regarding Salesforce One and reports. I know we don't have reports capability within Salesforce One, but my org, our executives actually use reports pretty extensively, and they've been asking for getting some kind of like a rudimentary report support with Salesforce One. So what I did is I kind of threw up something very rudimentary using jQuery mobile and the analytics API to get some kind of like a report which renders with the Google Charts API. Do you happen to know if there is any other alternate way to get reports on mobile devices?
Any MVPs have any thoughts on that? Have done that yet?
I haven't seen the actual report tabular data. Everything I've seen has been it's been charts and summary information.
Yeah. So that, I mean, like as an alternate way, what I did was using jQuery and then writing some Visualforce and using Google Charts API. I was able to get something done, but it's very kludgy. I don't know if anybody else you have seen has requested support for reports, or if people are doing reports in mobile. I'm kind of 6 months old in Salesforce, so I don't know much about the exposure outside. So.
Yeah, it's definitely something I think to post to the answers board to see what people have done out there. Definitely be interested to hear that. And we're right at about time here, so I'll sorry to those we can't get to today, but if you have some additional questions, obviously you can post it on the answers community, and there's a lot of people out there monitoring that. And get to it. You're welcome to cross post that to the MVP office hours if we missed you today. Other than that, we'll have the next one here in 2 weeks, same time as usual. And again, as always, if you have any suggestions for improvement, don't hesitate to post that on the group. And thanks for everyone's time and joining, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thanks. I
Have a
appreciate
good
it.
weekend.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.